Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us on your Friday night. I'm Russ Riesinger. Places of worship can open their doors again in Montana with stipulations, but that's not the case in other parts of the nation where COVID-19 continues to spread. Well, now President Trump is threatening to override state governors who do not open places of worship after he's deemed them as essential.
Some governors have deemed liquor stores and abortion clinics as essential, but have left out churches and other houses of worship. It's not right. So I'm correcting this injustice and calling houses of worship essential.
The CDC has released guidelines for places of worship that include the use of face coverings, holding services in large ventilated areas or outdoors, frequent cleaning and social distancing. The agency also says consider suspending or decreasing use of singing, chanting or reciting during services. Well, in Montana, places of worship have already held live services, so the president's words have not changed some churches and synagogues, but many are deciding on their own not to reopen yet. Q2's David J. had a chance to talk with a pastor and a rabbi in Billings and joins us now with more. David?
Well, Russ, Faith Chapel and Congregation Beth Aaron have not reopened during phase one. They both already made decisions before President Trump called places of worship essential. Faith Chapel has been doing online services and will start with a modified reopening the weekend of June 6th and 7th. Service will be down from 1,800 to 400 with fewer in the children's services as well. Congregation Beth Aaron has done online services before and during phase one, and the decision was made to not to have live services through June.
We view ourselves as being essential for our community. Part of that essential responsibility remains to be thinking of the health of our communities and the most vulnerable among us.
I think we're essential, but one of the interesting things about the church is over the last 2,000 years, the church has never needed a big building in order to meet. After this June 1st edict, we'll run parallel tracks. We'll continue our online services, and then we'll begin to open up our building as well.
Over the last month, we have spoken with several church leaders that have held in-person services with distancing and other precautions during phase one. Russ?
All right, thank you, David. Montana's unemployment rate soared in April, but not as high as the rest of the nation. There's also news tonight that many Montanans are already heading back to work as the state prepares to move into phase two of the reopening plan. Now, Montana's unemployment rate, which was captured during the stay-at-home order, stands at 11.3%. That's less than the national rate of 14.7%. Total employment decreased by 55,766 for the month. Leisure services were the hardest hit area, losing 32,000 jobs. That's almost half of the employment in that sector. But some good news not reflected in that report is that 18,000 Montanans have already returned to work since the state began reopening. Montana health officials reported no new confirmed COVID-19 cases again today. We do have some new information on the cluster outbreak in western Montana this week that we told you about. MTN has learned the 8 positive COVID-19 cases in Ravalli County are employees of the Stock Farm Club in Hamilton. That's a golf club. Members tell us one of the patients was hospitalized but was expected to be released into quarantine today. The other 7 do remain in isolation. In Wyoming, COVID-19 cases are climbing more quickly. Tonight, the count has reached 608. Yesterday, several cases were reported at a Casper Child Care Center, and recently a long-term care facility in Worland reported 11 cases, which have resulted in the death of a male resident. All right, turning to Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire. And Bob, many are looking forward to enjoying the long holiday weekend. How's the weather going to do? Looks like some rain on tap, at least to start it. Huh?
That seems to be the case, but I got to tell you, this seems like it's the unofficial beginning of summer vacation for a lot of folks. And of course, that means you got to be by the pool, right? That's what we're starting out with. Anyway, here's the way it looks. You need your sunglasses. You might by the Memorial Day on Monday. Here's what's happening, though. Check out our forecast. As you'll see here on tomorrow, it's going to be kind of cloudy, rainy, and 50 degrees, and 80% chance of rain showers off and on. I don't think you're looking at thunderstorms or severe stuff, but it's going to be rainy off and on. On Sunday, A 30% chance for rain showers, otherwise partly sunny skies. And then on Monday, there it is, 72 degrees. It'll feel like room temperature out there, mostly sunny skies and warmer. And that's the beginning of what will probably be a prolonged warming trend, 70s and 80s as we go into next week. We'll have more about that coming up in a few more minutes.
All right, thank you, Bob. Billings Senior had to cancel their all-night after graduation party this year, but the graduating class of 2020 was still sent out in style tonight. Billings Senior Rad Grad volunteers hosted the masked parade this evening. That parade, which began at Senior High and ended in the old Sears parking lot there on 15th, featured hundreds of decorated cars, floats, flatbeds, and a Billings fire truck. Even had Boo the horse there. This year's Bronx Senior class had 380 total students, and at the end of the route, each graduate received a generous gift bag. And remember, you can watch all of Sunday's graduation ceremonies live on the CW station. We'll also stream the ceremonies on the Q2 Facebook page. Skyview High School kicks off the day at 9 a.m. with a graduating class of around 360 students. Senior High's graduation begins at 2 p.m. and West High, with an estimated 400 graduates, will wrap up the day at 7 p.m. with each graduate receiving 2 tickets. Sunday's attendance will average between 700 to 800 people per event, not counting the students. Well, yesterday, a graduation procession was held at Metro Park for Reed Evans, the son of Chris Evans, a former deputy chief for Region 4 who worked for the DOC for almost 2 decades. Chris Evans passed away earlier this year, and to show their support for Evans' son Reed, the Billings Probation and Parole, Yellowstone County Sheriff's Office, Billings Police Department, ATF, U.S. Marshals Service all gathered at Metro Park with signs to support Reed Evans during this time. Now, officers from Billings Probation and Parole say Reed Evans was surprised and happy to see all the well wishes and support. Montana federal judge tossed out a lawsuit today seeking to continue a ban on coal leases on federal land. That ruling by U.S. District Judge Brian Morris opens thousands of acres of public land in the Powder River Basin for possible coal development. The decision overturned an Obama administration moratorium on new leases on property controlled by the Bureau of Land Management. The BLM currently manages 290 coal leases, accounting for 6.5 billion tons of recoverable coal. About 85% of coal production on federal land is in the Powder River Basin, shared by Montana and Wyoming. Still to come on tonight's 10 o'clock news, the COVID-19 pandemic has brought the local music scene to a standstill, and many music venues wonder whether they'll be able to rebound. We take a closer look. Plus, raising 5 kids while teaching 5 English classes? We'll show you the new normal for one Montana mom. And in sports, Ready, Set, Go will look back on the amazing career of a former senior track star.
You're watching MTN News with Janelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.